on the YouTube side of things. See if we can get any of our friends that were from the TikTok live about a half hour ago. We got everyone else fed. Everyone else is comfy and cozy right now. Now we're just hanging with the adolescents. We got Annie here on my left side. Mama will be home tomorrow, or Kylie will be home tomorrow. She's been in Italy for the past week, and she just picked up our new boy today. She's on her way home. Pick her up at approximately 2:00, 2:15 tomorrow. Oh, we'll bring him. Come here, you. There she is. Oh, it's okay. Oh no. Here we go. I guess she didn't like that very much. Down we go. Here we go, Seraphina. Give me yours. Oh, there we go. See if we can get Seraphina to hang out with us. This is Seraphina. She's one of Chessie's and Grizz's kids. She's going to stay with our breeding program. She's a very gorgeous girl. She's practically a reincarnation of Chessie, so she is the real Chessie Jr., basically, but she has a lot of her father's features. She has the same kind of fur type, at least around her face, but the rest of her body is more in line with what her mama has. Her coat is from her mama. She is a brown ticked Torby. She's got very similar lines on her head, the red lines here, that her mama has. We kept her, and we're keeping Mufasa, who is her brother. Obviously, they will not be paired together because that is against our code of ethics. That is actual inbreeding. And the difference between, well, I guess not much of a difference, but there's an important distinction to make between inbreeding versus inbreeding coefficients, because inbreeding would be more, and what people think when they think of inbreeding is like these polypause these cats have. That's not due to inbreeding. It's just an autosomal dominant trait. It might have started out kind of as a different type of mutation way back when, but after generations actually the Maine Coon population comprised approximately 40% polydactyl at one point. But yeah, it's an autosomal dominant trait, so it is not due to inbreeding. But we do have an important metric that we do have to follow. It's called an inbreeding coefficient. So there is a slightly there's a percentage of the inbreeding you want them to be hover around 11%, but it's not just to have it around 11%. You want to have an inbreeding complete coefficient. So your complete percentage should be pretty high. Ours is actually about 99.8%. And what the complete means is that we have almost complete records, full records of the lineage of these cats, so that we can actually outcross properly. So we have it almost 100%, which is not a lot of other breeders have that. Yeah, I remember you. I remember the profile picture. I don't remember the name. Let's see. I don't remember the name, unfortunately. Sorry. He's playing with Annie's neckerchief. Sweet boy. Yeah, you want your inbreeding coefficient to be around 11%. That's kind of the sweet spot. And then you want to be outcrossed as much as possible. And we have a 99.8% complete outcross, which is not very common with other breeders because a lot of the other breeders don't really even know what that is. They just know, hey, we have 2 cats, let's breed them, But the inbreeding coefficient is something very important to consider. Was that a fart? That was the fart. Nope. What colors do we get? So we oh boy, we have quite a range of colors. So it's actually listed on our website. It's our handle.com. So Mountain Crest Maine Coons.com. And if you go into our menu, there's a list of our kings and queens. And then there's also a list page where it says plans. And then you can see what we have planned as far as like pairings. And it'll show the possibilities between the two colors. So between Chessie and Kovu, who is now retired, there was a possibility for what was it? Tabby with white for the boys and red tabbies, and then for the girls, Torbies and Tappies as well. So there is a calculator type of thing where you plug in the color code of the specific cat that you have, and then it'll kind of do the math for you, and it'll show you what the color possibilities are. We get their specific color code. We get their color type from um, doing a test. It kind of shows you if there's like a dilute in them, if they carry silver, if they carry something else. And then it takes that into account and shows you the full list of possibilities for all the colors that you could have. If you guys are new here, please be sure to subscribe. We are trying to figure out a way to multi-stream on all platforms at one time. Chantel just sent me the one that she had. It's re something. If you guys, let's see here. If you guys know of any other platforms where we can do a multi-stream, we'd love to hear it. There was the one that Chantel mentioned. If someone mentions it in the comments, I'll probably be like, that's the one. There's also Streamlabs. That was another one that we have considered live streaming on, just so we can do all the lives at one time. There they go. It's not 11 o'clock yet. I wonder why it does that. It's been doing that every so often. Here, let me get that, guys. You don't want to. I know I'll probably try to put that in your mouth. I don't want you to put that in your mouth. Come here. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions, we'd love to hear them. We'll field all the questions as long as they are in good faith. Our Chessie girl is approximately 18 pounds, so she's actually larger than your standard female. Kovu right now, he's approximately 14-ish pounds, which is a little undersized for the males. However, sorry, he is not fully grown yet. Kovu is probably just over a year old, so he still has a few years of growing to do. And now that he's been fixed, his hormones are going to change. He's not going to be as breeding. He's not going to have that breeding mentality. A lot of his focus now is going to be on food. So he's going to fatten up quite a bit. And that's how a lot of those cats get their size. Well, just any animal really is once they're fixed, they become food oriented and they gain size. So if you ever see a breeder and you're like, oh, why aren't your males or your females, as big as some of the others that are out there? Well, it's because they're in breeding. Not in breeding, it's because they're in a breeding program. And since they are not fixed, they are not quite as food focused. They don't have that food mentality or that hunger mentality, I guess you could say. We do have a wide range of color options. We don't really try to go based off of what colors we can get. We go more based off of health and doing the proper pairings. So making sure that each male and female are complementing each other with their features. So if one cat like Grizz has very deep set eyes, and if we were to pair him with another cat with deep set eyes, Entropion would be a risk. Entropion is where the eyelids start to roll in, and it's painful for the cats. They close their eyes, they're in pain. It's not really that fun to fix. Um, Depending on where you live, here in the city, it costs a few $1,000s to fix the Entropion. Whereas if you find kind of more of a rural A&M type of vet, it could cost a few $100. So yeah, really, it mostly depends. But yeah, you don't want to breed something like deep set eyes to deep set eyes. We paired Grizz with Chessie because she has perfect eyes. They're not deep set, they're not too bulgy or anything like that. They're just perfect. So we paired her with him. That way, they're complementing features, and there's a much lower risk of the entropion. But as well as with the what I mentioned with the food, when they get fixed and their hormones change and they're more food focused, the hormones actually do somewhat tend to help to combat the entropion that they can develop once they're fixed. Same with the hips. We do hip testing. There's the OFA and the pop heads hip testing that we do. Let's see if I can actually find. I don't know if I have saved a screenshot of um, any of our hip X-rays or anything like that. Let me see if I can show you, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it should be or what it shouldn't be. I don't think I ever saved any. Ouch! Stop that, you. I don't think I ever saved any pictures or any X-rays on my phone. Most of them are on my wife's phone, though. Ouch. I don't know what it is with these cats either, but they are foot fetishists. They love to play with the feeties. Yeah, I cannot find the X-rays right now, but we will take a look at them at another time. But with the X-rays, what they do with those, that just kind of takes a look at the current state of the cat's hips and if they're looking good or not. But again, that's only current state. There's another test that's called the pen hip test where they kind of do more of a pressurized test on the hip socket to test its laxity and kind of give you more of a future look at the potential for hip dysplasia in these cats, because hip dysplasia is one of those common things that can happen in the Maine Coon breed. Um, but if we ever do get a male or female who doesn't pass their hip tests, then we will retire them before they can have a litter, because that's just part of our ethical agreement. We are breeding for health first. Health first, and then a very close second is temperament. Those are the top two ones. And then right below that, right below temperament, would be show quality, because health is the most important thing. I mean, show quality is fantastic as well, but if that cat isn't healthy, then show quality doesn't matter. You know, we test for health first, and then we go for temperament, and really close to that is show quality. And when we say show quality, it is a little different, because a lot of times what people think about when they think Maine Coon or where they hear Maine Coon, they think more along the lines of, very wild features. Looks like it could be a wild animal. People might question if it's legal for you to have it, type of thing. When we say show quality, it means balanced features. So with Grizz, he wasn't necessarily a great show quality cat. He is still a fantastic. He was a majestic Maine Coon, but he had really, not really deep set eyes, but he had deeper set eyes, and that's not really the standard when it comes to the judging. So yeah, show quality is more based on trying to make sure that you still get the good qualities of a Maine Coon, but they're not too extreme to the point where they get entropion or anything like that. All the kittens in this room are chilling right now in different places. There is a kokiri right here next to me. I wonder if I could go sit down next to her so we could actually see her, but maybe I'll just let her be, huh? Give her some scritches, see if we can't coax her to come over. No, nothing. It's okay. But if you guys have any questions about the Maine Coons, feel free to drop them into the chat. We would love to see your questions come in. We'd love to see some engagement, I guess you could say. Kylie is returning home tomorrow. I do have to get a couple of things ready. We are getting a new boy tomorrow. He's gonna be our Ranger Danger, either that or Timber. We can't decide on a name. If his name was going to be Timber, I feel like he should look more like his color should be a little bit warmer. I don't know, kinda like a dark wood or something like that. But, yeah, no, he's more neutral features, darker colored, so I feel like Ranger would be great, like, maybe like a Power Ranger, like the White Ranger or something like that. He's not white, obviously, but, White Ranger was my favorite, and the Green Ranger. White and green were both my favorite, but there's no such thing as a green cat. It's kind of funny too, orange cats, their technical name is red. So they're not orange cats, they are technically red because of their pigmentation, they call it red, kinda like redheads. They're not orange heads, they're redheads. And then, when you hear about, someone whose hair is turning blue or something like that, it's essentially talking gray, and that's the same thing with the Maine Coon cats or just the breed in general, just cats in general. If they look gray, the technical term is blue. So a Russian blue is called blue, but they're gray. Obviously, they're completely gray coats. Let's see, we can just bring this over. These two cuties are giving each other a bath. Oh, and there goes Indigo. So that gray girl right there, her name is Indigo because we thought that'd be kind of fun to tie it in with the color blue. Her technical color is blue. She is from the same lines as Chessie. She is from the Gonzor line. She has wilder features while still having a good balance. She has not deep set eyes, very well placed eyes. She has massive ears, just like her mama does, or not her mama, sorry, just like Chessie does. But again, from the same lines. Eyes. We're excited for her to have kittens, and if she's anything like Chessie, she'll be a very great mama, and she'll be able to take care of her kittens really well as well. Because sometimes there are mamas that do not take very good care of their kittens. Not saying that they're bad mamas, but Chessie can be a little clumsy sometimes. She is larger and she can roll over on top of her kittens, and we usually spend sleepless nights staying up trying to make sure that she doesn't actually crush any of her kittens. And then with Jules, she has fantastic hips. She has some of the best hips we have ever seen. So we want to use her for one more litter, but she does not do very well with milk production. So we have to help with her kittens and giving them some formula every couple of hours for their first couple of weeks, which is not the best. It's not very great to have that. Yeah. But she does have some of the best hips out of any that we have ever seen in our lives. So we would like to at least use her one more time to see if we can't have those hips pass on to the next generation and maybe keep one from her that also has really good hips. But we will see. It is very important that we have a mama that can produce her own milk. She produces a little bit, but not enough, not even for her, 1 day old kittens. Right when they're born, they instinctually just go right for the nubbies to start nursing. But yeah, she has a really hard time producing milk. So we take care of the formula for them every couple of hours for their first couple of weeks of life, and then we'll start to wean them a little bit more. Um, Part of the problem of just doing formula, though, is their gut biome can be a little out of whack um, when they don't get their mother's milk. So mother's milk is always the best formula. It's not bad, but um, the mama's breast milk is always the best for their gut biome. And Chessie produces a lot of milk. Thea, on the other hand, she produces kind of your average. Her kittens are getting quite big, though. They're over 3 weeks old now, and she's probably having a little bit of a hard time trying to keep up with the demand. She only had 5 kittens, and all of them made it, which we are very grateful for. One of her last on her last litter, we did lose one of them due to the condition where the insides are born externally, and there's nothing you can do for that. Um, the only thing you can do is make sure the kitten is comfortable and let it pass peacefully. That's really the only thing you can do with it, as sad as that is. But yeah, after she had that one, we were thinking, after a one-off, what like that, what we do is we'll typically have a conversation and try to figure out, is this just a one-off? Do we want to try one more time? Do we want to make sure just to see, is there anything that could happen the next time if we tried? And we thought, it is just a one-off. We have had upwards of 10 to 11 litters at that point when she had that litter. So we thought, it's the first time it's happened in all the cases. So let's go ahead. We'll try one more time. And if anything bad happens, then we'll probably retire her. And this litter, all five babies made it. They're all happy. They're all healthy. Everything is going really well. So we will probably use her just one more time. And it is interesting too. The females are very different when it comes to like their heat cycles. There are some times where they can like sync up, especially coming into the spring season. What is the thing from Bambi where they say Twitter paid it or whatever? Um, yeah, they all kind of tend to go into heat around the same time, but they are different. So, Gaia, our mama of the national parks litter right now, she just went out of her first heat post labor, and she was in heat for almost an entire week, and it was a very hard heat. It was so blatantly obvious that she was in heat and how bad it was, or how, well, I guess not bad, but how strong of a heat it was. Um, And with how strong it was, we were thinking, typically after the mamas give birth, we'll give them a melatonin chip to slow dissolve to help suppress their heats for a few months to help them recover. And we'll give it to them after approximately their third heat after labor. But with how hard or how strong her heat was, we might give it to her after her second heat, because if you let them run their heats too much and if they're too strong, you run the risk of pyometra, and pyometra is bad news bears. So we want to keep a close eye on that. The melatonin chip has no negative effects that any um, reputable findings have found. It's just a way for us to be able to um, suppress their heats for approximately 4 months to allow their bodies to recover, to put on some more weight, to gain some weight, put some more meat on their bones, to be able to get ready for another litter. That's one thing that a lot of other places do not do. A lot of other breeders, what they will do is they'll realize, oh, hey, mama's in heat again. Time to let her get knocked up. And it's like, no, that's your kitten mill level at that point. Like if you're just running your mamas ragged with, just litter after litter after litter, heat after heat after heat, that's not good for their bodies. That takes a huge toll on them. So we try to be as ethical as possible to allow the mamas to have as much rest as possible so they can be well prepared to handle the demands of pregnancy and motherhood again. So this girl right here, this is Kokiri on camera right now. She is Kiki's daughter, which is actually kind of funny because we named her litter after Kiki's delivery service. And if you've ever watched the movie, Kiki is the daughter, Kokiri is the mom, but this is kind of switched up. Kiki's the mom and Kokiri is the daughter. We are going to try to breed Kiki later this year, and then Kokiri probably around the same time, just as long as she passes her tests. That is one of the most important things that we do is we will not breed these cats if they fail their tests. That is something that not a lot of places do because they want to remain ignorant. They can just say, "Oh, well, I didn't know their hips were so bad," or "I didn't know their hearts were so bad. We did the DNA and genetic testing." But what they don't realize is that there can be other things going on that genetic testing does not show. Like genetic testing can be like, oh yeah, they're HCM negative, or they might be a carrier of it or something like that. And what's important to do in those types of situations is As long as the other parent isn't also a carrier, then it should be fine. There can still be some one-offs, sometimes, not all the time though. But yeah, the DNA genetic testing doesn't show everything, which is why we do echocardiograms on all of our kings and queens annually. And we want to make sure that their hearts are growing properly and that there are no issues. We also will get their hips graded, as I said before. Very important to make sure that their hips are good and that we are breeding complementary features to each other and not breeding like a grade one to a grade one. We want to make sure it's like a normal type hip if it's going to be with a grade one or something like that. Grade two isn't great, so we probably wouldn't even bother with that. But again, it is also a little different between the grades because what happens with, let's see if I can turn the camera back towards me for a second. I'll kind of show you what I mean as far as like the hip grading. So with the hip grading, it takes a look at how shallow the sockets are for the hip joint. And what they want to see is at least 50% coverage of the joint in the socket. If it's at least 50%, then those are pretty good hips. If they're a little less than 50%, you're probably looking at around grade one or something like that. But the issue with the x-rays and submitting them to like pop heads and OFA is sometimes the whoever is looking at, whichever doctor, whichever expert or specialist is looking at the x-rays, it can be very subjective about where they start the line for that coverage. And that can be and that can make a slight difference between normal and grade one, which is why we also do the pen hip testing. The pen hip testing is a pressurized test where they kind of pull on the socket to see how much laxity it has to kind of give you a better idea of potential future hip dysplasia, like developing it. Another thing to keep in mind as well is you don't want your Maine Coons to be too large. I know I was talking earlier about the more wild features of Maine Coons, and it's not necessarily the wild features that you have to worry about unless their eyes are really, really deep set. Then you have run a really high risk of entropion. But if they are overweight, even if they have good hips, their hips can still get damaged from how much they weigh, which is why we don't breed the oversized Maine Coons. We try to stay within kind of the standard. I know that there are a lot of viral videos going on around right now. There was that really big red Maine Coon that was at the vet's office. I was like, dang, that's a big one. And it was a gorgeous animal, but we do not breed those sizes because it is not good for their hips to be that big. It's also not good for them to jump from really any high distances either. So, um, for any cat really, but especially for the Maine Coon, since the hip dysplasia it was more prominent in the Maine Coons other than your standard cat breeds or your regular, house cat, street cats, whatever. Because they are bigger and they are more prone to hip dysplasia, it is smart to not have them jump from such high distances. So we don't want to have like too tall of cat trees or anything like that to where they feel like they can jump like they're invincible and jump from the tallest part of the cat tree. You want to make sure that you have kind of some smaller cat trees just to make sure that they aren't going to be busting up their hips. These pups miss their mama. She'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Everyone is pretty much sound asleep. We can go ahead and move back to the cats now because I'm pretty sure everyone would like to look at a cat more than they would like to look at my ugly mug. There she is. I think we'll end the live here tonight. Appreciate those who come in and stayed with us a while, just hanging out and talking Maine Coon cats and having a good time. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. We'll try to go live every night. We go live on TikTok first, usually, and then we'll come live for a little bit on YouTube. We're trying to find a multi-streaming app for us right now so we can just get it all done at one time. But we appreciate y'all being here. And we will see you all again tomorrow night.